Dan Maxwell, please come up on stage from PlaceIQ. Give Dan a hand. Welcome, Dan.
All right. Hey, everybody. So Dan Maxwell, I lead product for PlaceIQ. For those of you who are familiar with PlaceIQ, not as big as IBM. We are a mobile location data and insights company and have products that range from advertising to measurement to data and analytics, which will be focus of the conversation today. Really want to touch on a few key topics that are relevant to out-of-home in particular, and initially just walk quickly through a case study that we did, or I'm sorry, actually a study that we did that we commissioned across marketers, and then talk a little bit about how mobile can come in to help achieve some of the goals that we'll talk about as part of that study. And then lastly, to touch on a case study that sort of illustrates the power of combining what you're trying to do from an out-of-home perspective along with mobile and location data. So first, and I won't read all the slides as most of them don't have a lot of words on them, but this one I'll read. 47% of marketers said that creating a unified cross-channel customer experience was their top marketing priority. So roughly half were listing this as the #1 priority in 2017 when we commissioned this. All right, so just a slightly smaller percentage rank online customer engagement as a goal for their offline campaigns. So we lived in a world for a long time where everything was measured online in terms of clicks and conversions and is it resulting in a transaction. Now we're moving into a world where we're starting to say that we really want to understand things bidirectionally. So advertising that occurs in the physical world, and I know this is something that's very close to people in the out-of-home space, need to be able to measure that and understand how is that actually impacting behavior both in the physical world as well as the digital world. And then in the other direction, now we look at mobile advertising, at digital advertising that occurs on the desktop, what we'd call traditional advertising that's been around for maybe 20 years now. We want to understand how that's actually influencing behavior in the physical world. And so lastly, and this is sort of the adage that everybody's talking about it, very few people are actually doing it, and even less are really doing it well. Only 8% of people or marketers actually claim that the solution that they have against these goals is what they'd consider to be a best-in-breed solution. So everybody sort of agrees that it's a #1 priority. Everybody understands that there's value to be had in being able to measure that bidirectional measurement and understand influence of advertising in physical and digital worlds. But very few actually believe that they have a good solution in place today to do so. So I want to talk a little bit about the mobile device and how this helps to sort of bridge this gap, right? So if we think about the mobile device, it's become more than just a device, and at this point, it really is your digital self. And what I mean by that, I heard somebody earlier ask how many people know what the battery power of their mobile device is, and hopefully everybody still has battery power, because what would we do without it? But I bet everybody in the room has their mobile device either in their pocket, in their purse, in their bag, maybe even in their hand. And it's probably like that 24 hours a day. I know for my phone, the only time it's not within arm's length of me is when I'm charging it, if I leave it at my desk at work and I'm moving around. And then I feel constantly like, what do I have to do next? What's going on? I feel out of touch. So the device literally becomes, it becomes you, in that you take it everywhere that you go. You're most likely the only person who's actually using the device, or at least you're the person who's using it 99% of the time that it's being used. Occasionally my kids borrow it and they're looking at games or apps on a long drive or something like that. But for the most part, you're the only person who has the device. It's very personal to you. When we think about other methods of understanding who the consumer is, we think about the cookie, and that had been for a long time the primary method by which we understood people and behavior. But if I go back and have that same analogy and I think about the computer that's in my house, that's used by everybody in the household. So my wife uses it, both of my kids use it, and probably everybody there uses it more than I do. So if you as a marketer are trying to understand who I am and you're using the cookie as a method of doing that, you have no idea really who I am, because in fact, I'd probably make up a very small portion of that footprint. And the mobile device, helps to solve a lot of those issues. So aside from the fact that you have the device everywhere that you go, we think about the artifacts that I was just talking about. So we had the cookie, and then we have the ad ID, which are digital signatures or footprints of who you are and understanding who it is that you are. With, as I mentioned, the ad ID probably being a better mechanism of doing that than the cookie has been. And now you think about the new artifacts that we're starting to create, and those would include location traces and really understanding where the device goes, and by that, where you go in the physical world, which is probably a better indicator of who you are as a person than the cookie would have been, right? So do you go online and read about fitness articles, or do you actually go to the gym and shop in health food stores, which is actually a better signal for who you are as a person? And then lastly, the device helps to serve as a bridge to other types of behavior. So television behavior, we've talked a little bit about television, online behavior, direct response, like what types of things do you purchase, credit card data, right? There's a whole bunch of other data that can be brought in, joined to that device, and now you can have a real 360 view of the consumer. So how do we take all this and make it actionable, and how does this actually matter for out of home and for some of those challenges we talked about marketers having early on? So I want to just walk real quickly through a case study. I know we're pressed for time here, and this is just a few slides, and talk about the power of combining these digital and physical footprints together. So see in this example, we're talking about Shinola. For people who aren't familiar with the brand, it's a luxury brand, watches, leather goods, bags, things like that, and other kind of boutique luxury items. And this particular example focuses on Detroit, and you see this wraparound billboard that's obviously in a very public place. And you're going to have thousands of people, maybe tens of thousands of people walking by this on a daily basis. Some of those people will see the ad. Some of them will be staring at their mobile device as they walk by, and they won't see it at all. But basically, what we did in this instance was we worked with the out-of-home advertising to create a mobile and digital strategy to complement that and to be able to measure what the impact is when you combine these new sort of mobile artifacts, real-world artifacts gotten from the mobile device with what you're doing here. And so in this instance, what we did was we employed 3 primary tactics. One was we wanted to understand what people actually went by this ad. And so using the mobile device, we were able to create segments of audiences for people that are actually in proximity to this and other advertisements that were in an outdoor location. Did every one of them see it? We don't know. Again, they could have been staring at their phone. Was every one of them part of the target audience that this billboard was there to capture? Absolutely. So that's number one. Number 2 was we did a similar type of audience creation for people that were in proximity to or inside of an actual Shinola retail location. So these are people that either are your customers already or people who have the potential to become your customer because they're in proximity to your location on a regular basis. And then number 3, we bridge the mobile device to pull in purchase data and understand what people are purchasing products at Shinola and or purchasing other similar types of luxury products that would be interested in this type of ad, to basically extend what you're doing in out of home into digital and give you a way to sort of measure how impact can move between the two. And so what we ended up seeing here was about 43 times lift for people who were exposed to these audiences that were built based on mobile location data versus someone who had not seen one of these ads. So what that effectively means is someone who is exposed via this mobile targeting strategy that leveraged the out-of-home placement, the retailer data, used the phone as a bridge to understand which customers we should target, were 43 times more likely to actually then go to a Shinola store or retailer and hopefully make a purchase. So really powerful stuff. And I think getting the hook here. So we have a white paper. I saw some outside. Otherwise, you can go online and you can download this. And otherwise, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, thanks.
Great.